The morning of my wedding arrived wrapped in soft sunlight and fragile hope. I stood in front of the mirror, fingers brushing over the white fabric that clung to me like a promise. For a moment, I barely recognized the person staring back, calm, glowing, almost whole. I told myself this was what happiness looked like. Earned, deserved, all my life, I had waited for days like this, days that would prove I was enough. Growing up, love in our house was never loud or warm. It was measured, conditional. My mother believed affection spoiled people. Praise was rare, approval even rarer. I learned early how to stay quiet, how to adjust myself into shapes that pleased her. Good grades, good manners, good silence. Still, I always felt like I was one wrong step away from disappointment. But today felt different. Today was supposed to change everything. As I slipped into my dress, memories crowded in school plays where she never clapped, birthdays where gifts came with lectures, moments where I stood proudly and she looked past me. Yet somehow, I still believed this day would soften her. Weddings had a way of doing that, didn't they? They made people sentimental, forgiving. When my mother arrived, her eyes scanned me from head to toe. She nodded once. "You look fine," she said, "not beautiful, not proud, just fine." Still, I smiled. I always did. Guests filled the room with laughter and perfume. Flowers bloomed everywhere, carefully chosen, perfectly arranged. My partner found me before the ceremony, squeezed my hands and whispered, "I choose you, always." My chest tightened. That sentence alone felt like a lifetime of healing. As I walked down the aisle, every step felt heavy with memory and light with hope. I searched the crowd and found my mother sitting straight, backed, expression unreadable. I told myself she was nervous, that inside she was happy for me, that she loved me in her own quiet way. The vows passed like a dream. Words of commitment, of choosing each other every day, of building something honest and safe. When my partner spoke, their voice cracked with emotion. When it was my turn, I spoke from the deepest place in me, the place that had survived loneliness and still believed in love. Applause followed, smiles, tears. I exhaled. This was it, I thought. The moment everything I endured finally made sense. I had built a life strong enough that even my mother couldn't break it. I imagined her standing, hugging me, whispering that she was proud. For the first time, I let myself want that. Music played softly as people stood, chatting and congratulating us. I felt weightless, like I had crossed an invisible line into a better future. My partner squeezed my hand, and I squeezed back, silently promising that no matter what came next, we would face it together. Then I heard a glass tap. The sound cut through the room like a warning. I turned, smiling, expecting a toast. I didn't know yet that this was the moment my childhood would end, and my real life would begin. The tapping stopped, but the silence it left behind was heavy and sharp. Every conversation faded, every smile froze in place. I followed the sound to the front of the room, and there she was. My mother standing, holding her glass like it was a microphone she had waited her whole life to use. "I just want to say something," she began. My stomach tightened. A quiet voice inside me whispered that something was wrong, but I pushed it away. This was my wedding. Nothing bad was supposed to happen today. She cleared her throat and looked around the room, not at me. As a parent, it's my responsibility to be honest. A few guests nodded politely. Someone laughed nervously. Then she finally looked at me. "I want everyone to know that I do not support this marriage." The words landed slowly at first, confusing, unreal. Then all at once, crushing the air out of my lungs. The room gasped. I felt heat rush to my face, then cold spread through my chest. My fingers went numb, but I kept smiling, because I didn't know how not to. "I don't approve of this decision," she continued, her voice steady, "and I won't be offering any support, financial, emotional, or otherwise." Every syllable felt deliberate. Measured, practiced. I heard whispers, chairs shifted, someone dropped a fork. I could feel eyes on me, burning, waiting to see how I would react. I wanted to scream. I wanted to vanish. I wanted to rewind time to 5 minutes ago, when I still believed I was safe. My partner stepped closer to me, protective, but I barely felt it. All I could see was my mother, so calm, so composed. As she publicly stripped me of dignity on the one day I asked her not to, memories crashed into me like waves. her voice telling me I wasn't ready, that I was making a mistake, that love didn't last. I realized then that this wasn't impulsive. This was planned. She had waited until she had an audience. My chest ached with something worse than anger. Grief, the kind that comes when you finally understand that the person you needed will never be who you hoped they'd be. I searched her face for hesitation, regret, anything. There was nothing. The officiant looked helpless. Guests stared at their laps. No one knew what to do with a mother who chose cruelty over love in front of witnesses. I felt small, like the child I used to be standing in doorways, hoping to be invited in, hoping to be chosen. But this time, something was different. Instead of collapsing, I felt a strange stillness settle inside me. The kind that comes before a storm or a decision. My tears didn't fall. My heart slowed. I realized that if I stayed silent now, this moment would follow me forever. My mother lowered her glass, satisfied. "That's all," she said. The room remained frozen, suspended between discomfort and pity. And in that quiet, painful space, I understood something with terrifying clarity. She had made her choice. Now it was my turn. I took a breath so deep it felt like it might split me open, and stepped forward. I don't remember deciding to move, only the sensation of my feet carrying me forward as if they finally knew where they were meant to stand. The room felt too large, too quiet, every face turned toward me, waiting. My heart pounded, but my voice, when it came, surprised even me with its steadiness. "Please give me a moment," I said. The officiant hesitated, then nodded. My partner tightened their grip on my hand, a silent question in their eyes. I squeezed back. "Stay, trust me." I turned to face the room, then slowly, deliberately, toward my mother. She looked irritated now, not remorseful, as if I had inconvenienced her by not collapsing the way she expected. "For years, I thought love was something you had to earn by being quiet enough, good enough, small enough." A few people shifted uncomfortably. I didn't look at them. This wasn't for them. I spent my entire life chasing approval that never came. I continued, my voice shaking for just a second before I steadied it. "And today, on the day I was supposed to feel most supported, you chose to remind me of that." My mother opened her mouth, but I raised my hand. For the first time in my life, I stopped her. "This isn't a debate," I said softly. "It's a boundary." The word felt powerful. Dangerous, free. I took a breath and did something no one expected. I reached up and removed the ring she had insisted on paying for years ago. The ring she never let me forget was her contribution. The metal felt cold against my skin as I placed it on the table beside us. "I won't accept love that comes with conditions," I said, "or support that can be taken away to punish me." The room was silent, but it wasn't uncomfortable anymore. It was reverent. Then I turned to my partner. "I choose you," I said, tears finally spilling over. Not because it's easy, not because it's approved, but because it's honest. They smiled through their own tears and nodded. "I choose you too," they whispered. A murmur rippled through the guests, something between awe and relief. This wasn't the disaster they'd feared. This was something else, something braver. I looked back at my mother one last time. "You don't have to support me," I said, "but you don't get to control me anymore." Her face flushed. For the first time, she looked unsure, small, powerless. I turned away before she could say anything else. "Let's continue," I said to the officiant. Applause erupted. Not loud at first, but growing, filling the room, lifting me. People stood, some cried. My partner and I stood hand in hand, surrounded not by perfection, but by truth. The vows felt different this time, stronger, untouchable. When we were finally pronounced married, the joy was real. Not borrowed, not fragile. As music played and people hugged us, I felt something unfamiliar settle into my bones. Relief. I had survived the moment I feared most. I hadn't begged. I hadn't broken. I had chosen myself in front of everyone who once expected me not to. And somewhere behind me, I knew my mother was sitting in the wreckage of a control she would never get back. For the first time in my life, I wasn't waiting to be loved. I was already free. The days after the wedding were quieter than I expected. No dramatic phone calls, no public apologies, just space, wide, unfamiliar, and strangely peaceful. For the first time in my life, my happiness didn't echo with my mother's approval or disappointment. It simply existed. At first, the silence felt heavy. I kept expecting guilt to creep in, to punish me for standing up for myself. That was how it had always worked, but guilt never came. Instead, there was relief, the kind that settles deep, the kind that tells you you've finally stopped running. My partner and I built our life slowly. Mornings filled with laughter over burnt toast. Evenings spent talking about dreams instead of defending choices. Our home became a place where no one walked on eggshells, where love didn't feel like a test. Weeks turned into months. Then one afternoon, my phone buzzed. Her name lit up the screen. I stared at it longer than I'd like to admit. My hands didn't shake. My heart didn't race. I opened the message. I didn't think you'd really go through with it. She wrote, "I thought you'd come back. You always do." The words stung, not because they were cruel, but because they were honest. She had never believed I was strong enough to choose myself. I typed back slowly, deliberately. I didn't leave. I wrote. I stayed where I was finally treated with respect. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. "I was trying to protect you," she replied. I smiled sadly at the screen. Protection shouldn't feel like humiliation. Love shouldn't hurt like control. I'm protected now. I sent by my own boundaries. That was the last message. And that was the moment I understood what real revenge looked like. It wasn't anger. It wasn't punishment. It wasn't proving her wrong with words. It was living well without her permission. Over time, I heard things. That she told people she didn't recognize me anymore. That she felt embarrassed. That she missed me. Each story felt distant, like news from a life I no longer lived. I didn't feel joy at her regret. I felt something softer. Acceptance. I had spent years believing that if I loved her hard enough, quietly enough, she would change. But love doesn't fix people who don't want to listen, and staying small doesn't keep the peace. It just delays the breaking point. Mine had arrived at the altar, and instead of breaking, I rose. Sometimes I look back at photos from that day. I see the moment before the announcement. My hopeful smile, my open heart. I don't cringe. I don't feel ashamed. I feel proud, because that version of me still believed in love, even when it was risky, and the version of me who stood up afterward finally believed in herself. That's the ending she never expected, not estrangement, not cruelty, but a life full of warmth, honesty, and chosen family. My mother tried to take my power in front of everyone. Instead, she handed it back to me, and I've been holding on to it ever since.